Hello everyone. Today we will follow the life of Dieu Han, a homeless single mother. Dieu Han was once a woman with a home, someone who believed in love, but she gave it all up to escape the dark life with a husband who was addicted and abusive. There were times when she nearly lost her life, but what hurt her even more was the helplessness she felt when she couldn't protect her child from the constant fear. Then, on a cold, rainy night at the end of the month, she made a decision to leave. Carrying nothing but an old fabric bag and holding her child's hand tightly, she left everything behind: the house, the past, and all the shame. She chose a life of homelessness. No roof, no warm bed, but at least it was freedom. At least her child would no longer flinch at the sound of a drunken father's angry screams. After many days wandering through the smog-filled city, Dieu Han made the decision to leave it all behind. Holding her small child close to her chest, she quietly made her way into the deep forest. No family, nowhere to return to. All she had was an old cloth bag slung over her shoulder, a few pieces of clothing, a leftover chunk of instant noodles, and her child, little Tom, breathing softly against her. Deep in the desolate forest, she suddenly came across a small house, or more accurately, a decaying wooden shack. The roof was leaking, and the door hung off its hinges. But to her, in that moment, it felt like a miracle at the edge of survival. She trembled as she pushed open the rickety door. Beams of light pierced through the holes in the roof, casting faint patterns on the dusty floor. Gently, she set the bag down and sat with Tom, leaning against the wall. Suddenly, Tom burst into tears. He was likely hungry. She quickly opened her shirt to nurse him. A whole day had passed since she last ate. Exhausted, Han rummaged through the bag and found nothing but the half-eaten piece of instant noodles from the day before. Unexpectedly, a shadow appeared at the doorway. An older man stood there, holding a stick of firewood, his eyes filled with anger. "What are you doing here? This is my shack. Who said you could come in?" Han, startled, clutched Tom tightly. I thought it was abandoned. I just needed a place to stay for a few days, please." But before she could finish, the man stormed over, grabbed the bag from the ground, and threw it violently outside. "Get out. You and your kid leave now. This isn't a place for strays." No hesitation, no chance to explain. She held Tom close, silently stepped outside, and began to pick up their scattered belongings, each tiny shirt, each blanket, before continuing her uncertain journey deeper into the forest. She continued walking along the muddy dirt path, holding little Tom tightly as he slept in her arms. A small village lay nestled by the edge of the forest with scattered modest homes. She knocked on door after door, hoping someone would let her stay for just a few nights. But no one, not a single soul, was willing to take her in. Suddenly, by the roadside, Han spotted a fallen bicycle, and next to it, a boy of about 10 years old, lying motionless. Without hesitation, she rushed over, pushing the bike aside to free the boy from under it. Scratches on his arms and legs were bleeding more by the minute. Though utterly exhausted, Han stayed calm. She set Tom down gently and began looking around for some mild medicinal herbs nearby. She chewed the leaves to soften them, then gently applied the paste to the boy's wounds. From her bag, she pulled out an old piece of cloth, a scarf she had once used to wrap Tom, and carefully bandaged the boy's injuries. Without a second thought, she lifted Tom back onto her left shoulder, then hoisted the injured boy onto her back. Carrying both children, she trudged forward. After walking a short distance, a young man from a nearby house returned from fetching water and saw her struggling to carry the boy. He immediately ran over. Saying nothing, the young man gently took the injured boy from her back and carried him into his home. Then, speaking on behalf of the boy, the young man turned to her and said, "I'll contact his family. Thank you." After helping the injured boy and receiving support from the kind young man, Dieuhan felt a renewed sense of strength. For the first time in a long, weary stretch of days filled with despair, she felt that maybe she wasn't entirely alone in this world. Cradling little Tom, who slept peacefully in her arms, she continued walking deeper into the forest, following a narrow dirt path. After a long journey, Han's eyes suddenly lit up. There it was, an old house hidden beneath thick, leafy branches. It looked more solid than the previous shack, though still run down and in need of serious repair. She stepped inside, gently slid the heavy cloth bag off her shoulder, and placed it in a corner. She laid Tom down on an old coat and covered him with a small cloth before taking a deep breath. Without hesitation, Han began to repair the house. She gathered scattered pieces of wood around the area and tried to prop up the leaning walls. Sweat trickled down her forehead. Her hands bled from being scraped by rusty nails and sharp edges. But she didn't stop. It was just a humble shelter, crooked and fragile, but for now it was enough. She let out a long sigh, glanced back at her home, then went in to gently wipe Tom's face as he dozed off. Her stomach growled loudly. She hadn't eaten all day. She knew that if she didn't find something to eat soon, she wouldn't have the strength to carry on. She walked to the back of the house, and there, to her surprise, was a row of passion fruit vines covering the fence. Each fruit was plump and fragrant, exuding a sweet-sour aroma. Overjoyed, she reached for one, peeled it open, and tasted the fresh, tangy pulp. It wasn't poisonous. She hurried back inside, fetched an old pair of scissors, and began harvesting the fruits carefully. One by one, the passion fruits were snipped and placed gently into her worn-out bag. When the bag was full, she set off once more. At the edge of the road, where a few villagers passed by, Han laid out an old plastic sheet she used to sell cassava. She carefully arranged the passion fruits in neat rows. Sitting quietly at the edge of the sheet, one hand on the bag, she watched the road. Gradually, passers-by stopped to buy the fruits. Bit by bit, the pile shrank. Once everything was sold, she packed up the sheet and put it back into her bag. Han stood up and turned down a narrow alley where a small rice roll shop was still open. She ordered a small portion and sat silently in the corner. For the first time in days of hunger, she finally got to enjoy a hot meal, the comforting aroma of fried shallots rising with the steam. After the simple yet satisfying meal of rice rolls, Dieuhan carried little Tom back to the old house nestled deep in the forest. Rain poured down, each drop splashing through the gaps in the roof, landing with sharp plinks on the wooden floor. Within minutes, water began to seep through the cracks above, cold droplets falling onto their hands and faces. She pressed her lips together, holding her tiny child tightly in her arms. Though it was cold, though she was exhausted, her heart remained warm. Because now, no one was yelling at her. No one was raising a violent hand. No red-eyed addict of a husband haunted her nights anymore. She whispered to herself like a quiet vow. Tomorrow, I'll fix the roof. I'll pick more passion fruit. I'll keep trying so no one will ever have to pity us again. This was only the beginning, but it was the beginning of freedom, of hope, of a life she had chosen for herself. Let us hope that Han and her child will find a better life ahead.
Từng người một đến hỏi mua dần, số lượng quả trên bạt cũng dần hết. Cô lấy chiếc bạt trên bò vào làm. Hân đứng dậy rồi vào con hẻm nhỏ. Có một quán bánh đúc còn nhỏ. Cô gọi một suất nhỏ, ngồi một góc im lặng. Lần đầu tiên sau bao ngày nhịn đói, cô được một món ngon nóng hổi, thơm lừng mùi hành phi. Sau bát bánh cuốn đơn giản mà ngon lành, Diệu Hân bế bé Tôn trở về căn nhà cũ nằm sâu trong rừng. Mưa rội trên từng má, hạt mưa bắn qua khe hở rồi đổ xuống sàn gỗ. Chỉ sau vài phút, nước bắt đầu rỉ qua những kẽ mái, từng giọt lạnh buốt nổi lên tay, lên má hai mẹ con. Cô mím môi, bàn tay ôm chặt con bé trong lòng. Dù lạnh, dù mệt, trái tim cô vẫn ấm, bởi lúc này cô không còn bị ai đánh mắng, không còn sợ bàn tay thô bạo hay ánh mắt đỏ ngầu của người chồng nghiện ngập năm nào nữa. Cô thì thầm như hứa với chính mình, ngày mai mẹ sẽ sửa lại mái nhà, mẹ sẽ hái thêm nhiều chanh leo hơn, mẹ sẽ cố gắng để không ai phải thương hại mẹ con mình nữa. Đây mới chỉ là khởi đầu, nhưng là khởi đầu của tự do, của hy vọng, của một cuộc đời do chính cô chọn lấy. Hy vọng hai mẹ con Hân sẽ có cuộc sống tốt hơn.